Hello everyone, and welcome back to Inside ArtScroll, where the books you read and the people who write them come to life. Today we are privileged to be joined by Rabbi Binyomin Paskesz, who has become somewhat synonymous with the Zera Shimshon, which I'd love to get into. So let's start right there. How did you get involved in the learning and the spreading of the Sefer Zera Shimshon?
I got involved 7 years ago. I worked in a mortgage company, and I had some free time, and I received information on an organization called Maftayach Shel Bunim, where they had like 300 unfortunate couples. They don't have children, Sfardim, Ashkenazim, all kinds of Hasidim, Snagdim, and they gave chizik for these people. They used to give out gilyonis, they give out pamphlets, and they used to send them to hotels. They helped them out. And my partner is Rabbi Zilberberg. He does all the writing, and he hires people, and they do all the things there. Shimshon, and his father, Rabbi Zilberberg, is a Rosh Yeshiva in Elo Yeshiva in Israel. He happened to be at a wedding in Toronto, and somewhere in his table said a Dvar Torah from the Zera Shimshon. And we never heard of Zera Shimshon. Next to him was the Rabbi Sharf, who actually printed the Zera Shimshon over. The first time he printed it over at Tufshi Lamed Hai. I don't know the English date, but it was printed, originally it was printed a year before he passed away, the Zera Shimshon. That's Tuf Kif Lamed Ches, that's about 240 years ago. And he gave out a cipher on Pirkei Avos, which is called Torah Shimshon, that he gave out about 20 years before. Mm-hmm. And the Rabbi Shaver printed it over. He happened to find the cipher. He went, the Bava Rebbe, went to Kroke, and there was a lot of sefarim there, old sefarim, and they brought it back here, and he just printed it over just the way it was originally. It's very hard to read. It's everything, it's. I have the original print. And he started telling about the Zera Shimshon, and he went back to Israel, and this Rabbi Zilberberg, unfortunately, didn't have children for a couple of years, and he had a partner there that didn't have children for 15 years. And this Fatah told him, this is a Gula Sefer Zera Shimshon. Tell your friend that maybe, we should publicize it, we should try to get it out to the world.
Now, when you say that's a Skula Sefer, which
it's not, that's...
What did he mean by that?
What do you mean? Okay, I have to tell you, I got a call from a lady in Lakewood, and she asked me about the information about the Zera Shimshon. I told her it's a cipher. He was a Gun Oilam, every Medrash Shas. I mean, he didn't have a computer those days. And everything he knew, by heart. Medrash, all the Medrushim, it's just an unbelievable cipher, the Zera Shimshon. And I said, so also he says, unfortunately, he had one child, and he didn't make it. There was a bocher. And he said, these are my children. That's what he calls them, Zera Shimshon and Torah Shimshon. These are my children.
He's saying the author of the Zera Shimshon
himself wrote
Shimshon
Chaim ben Nachmani. He was a Sephardi, he was in Italy. And he says, these are my children.
So he only had one son who never passed away during his lifetime.
He says, these are my children.
And the
Svarim. And he begs in the cipher, he says, please learn my cipher, and it's not just give me a bracha. I'm promising you that you can have children. Buna Chaim Zoning, you have children, you have life, you can have parnassah, and you have a house full of goods. And so this lady called me up and says, my husband doesn't like segulas for him. I said, it's not a segula cipher. This is a cipher that's a lumdis, and we have to be the chumim that learn it every day. It's a matter of fact, I'm a Tzanz Chusit. I learned the Kriyas Tzanz years ago. And the Rebbe here told me that his father, Sheva Chaim, he set up shtetl on a shtikla from Zera Shimshon and Parshas B'Shalach. This year we want to print that. So people not everybody knew about it, but the sons of Rebbe, the closer Rebbe, Sheva Chaim, he knew about it. Also, I'm from Minkach. I come. My parents, my father and mother. I'm from the Prosting family. They all were born in Minkach. They came to America in 1938. My grandfather was Rabbi Matchwuliger. My mother's mother, my father's father was Blazer Paskesz. He was for the first two Talmidim of the Satmar Rebbe. They learned from him and his brother Leibel. And came to America. My parents got married. My father put on a Steinbul, my mother put on a Scheitel. They went to see it. It was, on the Tufshin Dalet. That was, what was that, the 1942, right, the 42. So, so going back to what we were saying, so they didn't have children for a while. And his father said, this is Gula Cipher. So they tried to find it, and they couldn't find it. The bottom line is, you said we have to reprint it. We have to reprint the cipher. And in Williamsburg, there's a Rabbi Vakshal, actually, who he was in the Kasha Besmedrish. Now he has his own Besmedrish, and he happened to see the cipher reprinted then. He was married also, he didn't have children for 7 years. And he saw it says there that Buna Chaim Zoyna, and he went over to the Kasha Rov and says, look what it says here, what do you think I should do? He says, I think you should reprint it, and also take money from people who don't have children. There was like 4 or 5 couples, his friends. I think each one gave $1,000, and they all got helped. He spent probably $50,000-$60,000 to interpret. In the Zera Shimshon, the old original one, everything is one piece. Mm-hmm. That's why you put him out of Makoimis. The Zera Shimshon remembered everything in his head, so they put him out of Makoimis. It was a very big job. It took him a couple of years. But once they started working on it, they started doing it, they all got helped. And as a matter of fact, there was another couple that didn't have children, and he didn't get money. He said, I'm going to buy a box of food and I'm going to give it to the shuls. He also got help. So that's how it started out with children. But he says everything. Buna Chaim Zoyna. I had once a call from Lakewood. The guy says, how about Shulam Bayis? He says he has a problem with Shulam Bayis. I said, he doesn't say anything about Shulam Bayis. I says, I know. He says, Batim Malayakal Tivya, a house full of goods. I don't think if you have the Shulam Bayis, it's called a house full of goods. So, Baruch Hashem, I don't know what the end was, but I'm sure he had Shulam Bayis afterwards. So basically, that's how we got involved. And I volunteered. I said, well, how could I help you? I had some extra time. Right. So that's how we got involved. And we started reprinting the Zera Shimshon. And every year we make a Suda in Yerushalayim on Tu B'Shvat. Make a Suda there. And it's going on for a couple of years already. And 1 year we gave everybody for free. We gave him a cipher. And we heard a couple of couples got help then.
And that sefer was Zera Shimshon on Chamisha Chumshei
Torah? Yeah, no, we gave the Torah Shimshon on Pirkei
Avos. Are those the only 2 svarim that we
know
from Zera Shimshon?
Only on the Torah and the Chumash Megillas.
And it's 1 volume on Chamisha Chumshei Torah?
Chamisha Torah is 2 volumes.
It's 2 volumes.
2 volumes. Chamisha Chumshei Torah is 2 volumes, about 1,600 pages. And Torah Shimshon is a couple hundred pages on Pirkei Avos. It's Pilpilim. It's people ask me to interpret the English. That's not so easy. Pilpla in English is. I don't know if everybody this Pilpla. Yeah, I think there are, but it's not so easy. But we're going to start taking our words from there. Mm-hmm. Maybe ArtScroll do us. We'll see what we do.
That's what we're doing here. That's what we're going to get into.
That's what we get into. So basically, that's how we started out. It's been 7 years already, and when we started doing this, I have a lot of requests English. I was born in America, I hate to say I graduated in the 5th grade, because, in our times, Chassidish yeshiva, we wanted to learn, masmidim. But, we couldn't do it ourselves in English.
Where did you grow up?
And I grew up in Williamsburg.
I
learned in the Kloser yeshiva. I went to yeshiva. Kloserburg yeshiva, on Lee Avenue, 131 Lee Avenue. Wow. Went to yeshiva, and then I went to... there was no such thing as Yeshiva Katana. We went to Israel, time the Rebbe moved to Israel, Tufshin Chuf, and then we went a year later.
So you went to Yeshiva in Sanz in
Netanya? I was there for 2.5 years. At that time, there was no phone calls, and it wasn't like that you come back for a chassan, you come back. You stood there for years, and then you came home.
So you came home at what age?
I came home, I was 17 years old. I went to Rav Shor had me. I went to Besmedrish Elyon.
Oh.
I went to Besmedrish Elyon for 3 years.
And there's Reb Donon Garsha?
Garsha was a Rosh Yeshiva, Reb Chaim Kaplan.
Right.
Of course, Rav Shor. And Simcha Shustel.
Sure.
Simcha Shustel, I'll never forget, he used to say Shal Shidus Torah. He was an item with the Matzah Fru. In the dark, he said a pshetel. Usually with a shiva, he has something in front of him, so he had to know it by heart. He said it, it was interesting, Shal Shidus, there was a pshetel. But those were the old good days in Besmedrish Elyon. We used to call it Hotel Elyon. It was a yeshiva that you could do whatever you want. You learn. Most people learn. It says in the first surah that it says Avagoy L'Mukum Torah. He says one of the reasons Goy L'Mukum Torah is because some people cannot learn under pressure. Under pressure. You want so that was a yeshiva. They learned. It was a very big Talmid Chumah going in a lot of going in. Shlomo There was there was a lot of going came out of that yeshiva. Reuben was a yeshiva before my uncle Herschel Willie, who was a big Talmud, but Walpen, all these Rosh Yeshivas they learn in Besmedish Elyon. And going back to basically, we going back to Zera Shimshon. We started having requests, to do it in English, and so we met Nachman Seltzer. Why did I go to Nachman? Yeah, I heard he wrote an article 2007. Right. He wrote an article in the Hamadiyah, and it described there was a big maifus in Manchester, a whole story with a Rafia. They gave up on him, and he started learning Zera Shimshon there before. So that was the story that he wrote over there. And Nachman Seltzer didn't know that the second time I met him was 2014, 7 years later. And I got calls from people that had yeshivas because they started learning Zera Shimshon from his original article 2007. Right. So then he revisited, he put another article in Ahmadiyya, revisited the Zera Shimshon 2014. It took me 2 years to convince him to write a book, but just unbelievable. The first book he wrote, probably sold 20,000, 25,000 copies. Right. And people are reading the stories, and we get compliments. And
to clarify, that first book he wrote, and then a subsequent book, those books have a shtickle,
we have
a divrei Torah from the Zera Shimshon, followed by a story that he tells too.
Some stories relate to the Zera Shimshon, and some are just from his old
just
books.
To bring out the message.
Bring out the message. And we did it. We didn't believe that this is going to happen, because once the book came out, the phone call didn't start, and people want to help. What else can we do? It's just unbelievable. Now, 7 years later, it's now 2021. Right? Tomorrow's the new year. It says from the Oiv Yisrael that we could say a good year because Hashem Yisper B'Chsevam. Hashem writes with the goyim. If they have a good year, it's also so we could say it should be a new year. The old American people. My mother Leah Shulam was a New Year. I think they went to Times Square. There was the old Americans. There was in any case you should have a new year. So basically. It became a foursome, and people are seeing yeshiyas. I told you before we could write a book just of yeshiyas. We did give out, we did a beer on Shir Shirim, and also on Aishas Chayil. There is in Parshas Chayil Surah, the Zera Shimshon, the Medrash says that Surah mine is Aishas Chayil. So he wrote a parish on every pusik. He wrote his own parish. So we gave it a whole cipher from that. And in the back we have Sapiri. Even in the 2 volumes we also start out and with the Shias. And basically with this day we can't even write so much because a lot of Shidduchim, but there's always interesting stories which we can talk about soon of interesting yeshiyas that we see from people learning. People I can give us the Shalos and Shivas. I got a call from somewhere from Lakewood. They think the English one helps also. The English one helps. It's Kedusha. I mean, it's holy words, but so I said that I got a call. There was a girl. She was 25 years old in Lakewood. She was looking for a shidduch, and nothing was moving. And when Nachman Seltzer gave out his book, it's on each parsha is a piece of Dvar Torah. She said, "I'm finishing the whole book." She finished the whole book, and as soon as she finished it, they talked to her shidduch. 2 weeks later, she was engaged. So I know that helps. I mean, Hashem gave the Torah by height of 70 languages. 70 languages. It's a Torah. We're in America. And so that's the language you speak.
Now, many people who are not familiar with the author of the Zera Shimshon are surprised to hear that he lived quite a while ago. He lived
240 years ago.
240 years ago, at the same time as the Or Chaim HaKadosh.
Same time. Right? There's some letters going back, but
Same time. Who were some of the other contemporaries? And I was going to ask you, is there any correspondence between...
There is some correspondence. I think there is some correspondence
between him and other
Yeah.
Now you said he was a Sfardi Gadol. Where did he live?
In Italy.
In Italy.
Yeah.
And was he a rabbinic figure in Italy?
Yeah, he was a rabbinic figure. Yeah, he wrote Shirim. Yeah, he did a lot from him. He did.
Do we know much more about his background and his history?
Yeah, it's all written up. It's all written up in the ArtScroll. It's written up in art. Now we gave out since then. We just gave out a Mavir, which was an explanation. On like ArtScroll. We just took out an each parsha too. It's a big volume.
Right.
We are not ArtScroll, so we can't. afford to do the whole thing, but we're working on it. We're going to have eventually like
That's what,
ArtScroll.
in Lashon Kodesh?
Lashon Kodesh,
Lashon
eventually we're
Kodesh.
going to have that also. But we gave out, with ArtScroll, we gave out the Megillah Esther. This year was beautiful. We did it in Hebrew, and we worked with them. We gave them the Divrei Torah from the Zera Shimshon, and they did it in English. And Baruch Hashem, we gave out a Tillim. We took together from all this sefarim, and we gave out a Tillim. And we gave it out the Mavor, Zera Shimshon, like I said, and Ashes Chayil, and Mavir. So we're constantly doing now. Now somebody's making a chasana, and he wants to give a chasana for the lady. She's giving the Megillah Esther, and he wanted something. So I said, well, what could ladies? We'll do a bench. So we got together, all the Divrei Torahs and Berachas Hamuz and Sheva Brachas. So one of my mitzvahs is next week, and one of them is in chasana. It's interesting, we're talking about certain shias. There was a guy named Yossi Weinberg. I think he lives in Borough Park. He lives. He made a chasana a year and a half ago in London. Made a chasana. And he called me up. He says, I want to give for the men, I want to give the Shir Hashirim with a beer. And I want to give for the ladies the Ashes Chayil. So the men, it was blue, and for the ladies, he made it white. I said, fine. Well, we made a special print. On the front cover, we put his name, the chasana. And he gave it out by the chasana. And the Kala has an uncle in Israel that came to the chasana, a roof, I don't remember his name. He came to the chasana, and he took the two sefarim, one for his wife, one for him, and he put in his telephone number into the cipher. He took it home, and for somehow he must have a lot of sefarim. He put a couple of sefarim, maybe a box of two sefarim, in the storage, I guess in Israel, in the cellar. And a guy came there. He thought it was, he saw sefarim in the basement, whatever. He thought it's a hefker. So he took the cipher, the Ashes Chayil, and he started learning every day, or twice a week, whatever. And he didn't have children for 9 years. Within the year that he started learning the cipher, he had a little boy, after 9 years. And he called up this uncle that came from Israel. He thanked him very much for making Hefker his cipher. That I got help, Baruch Hashem, this chis from Zera Shimshon. So the guy says to him, there wasn't Hefker. It just happened you took it, there wasn't Hefker. But yes, Hashem has his ways of making something happen. He put it in storage, he went to Chassan, and we printed it, and he got it. But basically, like you say, tzaddik promises that, and we see many issues. Sometimes it's fair. Sometimes it takes a little longer. It's like all other yeshivas that you say 40 days shir, you get help. A lot of people say I had one of my daughters were about 27, and somebody told me from Israel, a big mekibel, I should say 40 times shir shirim in one shot. 40 times. You know what that means? Without any hefsek. You can't talk, you can't go to the bit, nothing. It took me like 4.5 hours, I did it. For now, I don't know if you tell me to do it again. I don't know if I could do it again. But I'm trying to bring out, it took another year and a half to get engaged. But sometimes, the thing is a minute. If you believe, you see the shit right away. You have to have a minute. A minute means I'm sure you pull the issue. But there's no clue in this. People say 40 days, 40 days. You learn it once, twice a week. There's no shit. It all depends.
Why do you think that the Zera Shimshon, the Chidushei Torah, that he wrote, lay dormant for so many years that people didn't know about it? It's an unbelievable thing. He lived in the 1700s. Yeah. We're holding now Tafshin Pei Aleph. And now it just seems like this movement is growing and growing. This project, I should mention for our viewers, is just the beginning. This is the first volume on Shemois Ve'erabai, fully elucidated, meaning our Talmid Chachamim here at ArtScroll took the Hebrew text of the Zera Shimshon, translating every single word, with a commentary on bottom. It's very clear, and a synopsis at the end of each section, like you said before. Everything is divided. And this is just the first of what's projected to be a 10-volume project. We're coming out now with Shemois. This is Shemois Ve'erabai just came out. Then we're coming out with B'Shalach and Yisroi. It's going to be out in time for this cycle. Then we'll be jumping probably to Devarim and eventually finish it over the next 2 years. But my question is, why, in your mind, you've been so involved, why do you think that this phenomenon has kind of just sprouted now, and this is a treasure trove of Chidushei Torah and Chizuk and insights from a Welt Gadol B'Torah? What's the explanation?
Well, it says Hakel Tuli b'Mazel Afilu Sefer Torah Shabbat. Everything is a mazel that comes its time. Even a Sefer Torah Shabbat, you see a Sefer Torah, people don't read in it, and the Sefer that you read every day.
Right.
So it's basically there comes a time people need yeshiyas. Unfortunately, with Shidduch, I get involved in that. It's just unbelievable what's going out. I get calls. I get a call from Motzei Shabbos, a boy from Washington. He's 50 years old. He said, I can't take it anymore. I don't ask personal questions. But what did you do by 35? What did you do by 40? By 45? Why are you calling me when you're 50 years old? He said, I just heard about the Zera Shimshon, and maybe you could help me. What can you do? I said, listen, we'll learn for you. We have in Yerushalayim, we have a koil every Thursday night. Rabbi Zilberg's brother, he says a shir every Thursday night from 8 to 9. And we have over a million there. And we mentioned, we say the whole Tillim every Thursday night, which means we divide it. Those are 15 people. Everybody says 10 kapitlach, so it doesn't take too long. And we mention names of people that need yeshiyas. We constantly,
That's unrelated to the Zera Shimshon?
Well, we learn Zera Shimshon.
Oh, you learn Zera Shimshon. And then you say Tillim
after? And then you say after we say Tillim. But before we start to learn, we mention that these people need yeshiyas, and we should have them in. You promise, you learn with Tzibur, And there's constantly shirim, starting, that we don't even know. Like I mentioned before, Rabbi David Goldwasser, less than a year, he started, I guess he heard about the Zera Shimshon, and people got together. Let's try to do a shir. And he has over 1,000 listeners besides all the other WhatsApp. At 4 o'clock.
Daily shir.
Daily shir. If it's 5-10 minutes, he takes out a piece of Zera Shimshon, and he says a story to it. And every day, it goes to Agidus Yisrael, their telephone system. Every day at 4 o'clock, I get a call. 4 o'clock, so he says the shir, and it's very interesting. So the thing about that is, they say, why is mincha and eis rotzen? Why is mincha? What's different shachris or shachris? You get up in the morning, you go to mikveh, you daven. Ma'ariv, you finish the day, you go to Ma'ariv. But mincha, in the middle of the day, 3-4 o'clock now, especially the shki is early, you daven early. You go and take out your time and you daven. That's eis rotzen. Everything that. So the same thing here. In the middle of work, you stop everything. And you listen 10 minutes to Zera Shimshon, then you go back to work. So it's a big eisrusen. Every day, you don't have to pick up the phone, but I try to pick up the phone, as much as I could.
Now, if people out there want to find out information about shiurim in the Zera Shimshon, and things like that, is there a clearinghouse? Is there anyone who
we have a telephone line that we say a shir every day. There's a shir for 5-10 minutes. There's a shir giving in Hebrew and English and Lushan Kodesh, So there are shir. We have a telephone line. It's a free line. You can call. It's a local line. It goes to Kol Alushim in Israel, but we have our own line for Zera Shimshon.
Because I can tell you, people definitely want information, and we were joking before when we were walking around that people call ArtScroll asking for Rabbi Binyomin Paskesz.
Yeah.
How do I reach Rabbi Paskesz? I want information. So obviously, people are trying to reach you. People call you all the time.
The day of the Yahrzeit, we're giving out now a sefer in Yiddish. It's in print. It should be ready in about 2 weeks. It was a big deal. We give out a gillion every week in a couple.
Which yahrzeit?
The Zera Shimshon was Vuf El, 6th day of El. That's his yahrzeit. And we make a seed in Israel, but there's a line. It's called.
Sorry to interrupt. What if the yahrzeit in El? Why do you make your suda every year on Tu B'Shvat?
We do two of them. Tu B'Shvat is good to have children, so they start out in Tu B'Shvat, and then they do twice a year. They do, but Tu B'Shvat is the biggest one. The biggest. You have a couple hundred people come.
My birthday also.
Tu B'Shvat, very good, very good. And so we, people are constantly calling. This. Going back to the question, why I became a person, because people are seeing. That's how it is. People see yeshiyas, and everybody, who doesn't need yeshiyas? Who doesn't need yeshiyas? My Rebbe, I'm a spinker course. They used to say, whoever doesn't need should ask for his friend. Whoever knows that everything he has, he should ask for his friends. I'm a spal for him. I'm a spal at Chavayra, but everybody needs something. We need. My uncle Bill used to say, "V'koina hakel." We need everything. We need buna, chaim, mezoina. We need children. We need parnassah. We need simcha. We need everything. He needs everything. And then the Rebbe Ramaylich in the first piece of the Lekita Shoshanim, he says, "Asherecha boilam hazeh." It'd be good for you in this world and be yours. He says it has to be good on this world to be good on the other world. If you don't have money, if you don't have a chuvas hadas, if you don't have, you can't do anything. So whatever we ask for is because we want to learn, everything. It has to be good. Of course, there were tzaddikim that they had, but we were not in that pchin of tzaddikim. We need everything, and Hashem helps. It's tough times. It's unfortunately, when the coronavirus started, the phone didn't stop ringing.
Really?
The phone didn't stop ringing.
For Yeshuas or people?
Yeshua, yeah, she is, yeah. What can I do? What can I do? I say, pray for me. Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing. One of the veteran ArtScroll editors, a beloved editor, is Mrs. Miriam Zakon. She lives in Eretz Yisrael. And she writes a lot of the text that we use for sefarim and books. And she had a line. She said, she wrote, they came for the skula and they stayed for the Torah.
On the Zera Shimshon?
On the Zera Shimshon.
Oh,
it's a beautiful line because many people are attracted by the skula. Like you said, people need Yeshuas in all different realms. Parnassah, nachas, shidduchim, children, etc. And that's what I'm hearing now that this sefer came out, the Zera Shimshon elucidated from ArtScroll, is that people are saying, hold on, the skula is one thing, but the Torah is beautiful. So talk about that for a second, the depth and the beauty and the chidushim and machshava of the Zera Shimshon.
The Rosh Yeshivas in Israel, Abdon Segal and there's other Rosh Yeshivas, they said they started with this skula, like you said, and the questions that he asks and the answer that he says is just unbelievable. You know, it was just Chanukah, and he says, it's a mechoikas. We start from top to bottom. The Bishama says, "Poichas you start 8 days to one," and Basila says you count one to the top. What's the mechoikas? And the Zera Shimshon says, very simple, but he says the Beis Yosef says two teresim on why we have 8 days. Well, one of the ways that the nest was that they put in the full oil. The question is, what was the nest the first day? Right. So they put in all the oil, and every day only an eighth went down. And another terrace is that they put in a little, and it burned the whole night, went up. So he said that's the mechloek of the Bishama. The Bishama says the nest was, it went down. So that's where you count down. Mm-hmm. And the Basila says, no, it ate up, it burned for. So it's simple. The questions, that he answers is just mamish gewaldige questions, and then the answers. People are so from different Torah, it says, but he says learn my svarim. He didn't say that learn for the segulis. Mm-hmm. He said learn my svarim. I'm going to help you. It says if sois over the kav. We have no idea what it means when we say a word from a tzaddik and then.
In heaven, we don't know
what goes on there. But one thing we know that it's people. You see all the gedolim. You said learn my svarim, and say till me light a candle. So it's and Baruch Hashem we see that Hashem it should continue. Before he asked the question, nobody knew about it. The Minkach Rebbe, we come from Minkach. He said he has the Zera Shimshon from the Minchas Aluzah. The Minkach Ruf, which passed away. Torah passed away. What are we up to? 80, 90 years ago. He has the original cipher from the Minkach Rebbe. Yeah. I want to see it yet because I'm going to write it in the Shalach. I want to see it, so I have to get my friends to take a picture. I don't know if I could do that, but I'll try to borrow.
Does anyone have the original manuscript of the
There's some have it. There's a couple of copies here. Mm-hmm. But we have a copy of the original.
And the original published copy?
The published copy.
Does anyone have the Ksav Yad?
The Ksav Yad,
no, not the Ksav Yad, no.
Now, people are asking, I have a lot of calls, where's the Kaiver, Right. They really don't know because what happened is in the place they buried him, it was out of the city. But by the time the city grew and became middle of the city, so they took away their whole place and they took it somewhere else. So we don't know if he has a matzayv there, if they buried him together.
In Italy.
In Italy. Nobody knows. The people that we know, they did a lot of research, nobody knows. But it says, the more it says, that, you learn a cipher from a tzaddik, that it's just like you go out and see. And the Mora Naim says in Masechah Shabbos, he says, if you learn a cipher from a tzaddik, it's just like you went, just like this. You went down on the scene. So, it doesn't say any place, come to my scene. It says, learn my svarim. And you see it, you see it. It's beautiful. We give a gillion in Yiddish. I was talking about what happened by the yard side. There's a line called Menoisha Shanam that ladies every day for now.
Is that a phone line?
A phone line. Every day. There's probably sometimes you can listen to how many people you can see. There's about 2,500 ladies listening. Monroe, Williamsburg, Borough, Israel. And they say, I told you, they say Tilim together then. So basically, on the day of the yard side, somebody somehow said that we're going to print a cipher in Yiddish. From 9 o'clock in the morning till 11:45, the phone did not stop ringing. A whole day, money in the Yiddish.
What, for the Zera Shimshon in Yiddish?
Zera Shimshon in Yiddish. That was this. Now we finally got to it. We started working. We give out a gillion every week in Yiddish and English and Hebrew, but the cipher is different. The cipher, so it's going to be finished. And before it comes out, we're going to have to reprint it again. The demand is so big.
Right.
Even to be the Chum, somebody said to me, I understand Hebrew, I like it, but the Yiddish, I don't have to think. I could say it with the Shabbos table, straight from there. I don't have to repeat it. So basically, and like we said, there's still people that never heard of Zera Shimshon. I get calls, who's the Zera Shimshon? But I know with ArtScroll, with all these things, hopefully, some more people will learn. And I called where I saw it, says, I want to buy it. Where do I buy it? I said, all the stores have it already, just. Yeah. I said, are you involved in that? I said, I don't know, I'm involved. My name is there in the book in the front, at least.
You're definitely helping be mefarsim. But you were telling me before that there are some fascinating stories that you know.
Yeah.
Well, share a couple
let me share a story. I got an email about 4 years ago. So I never know. It says, looking for Chavrusa Zera Shimshon, which means he's looking for a partner to learn Zera Shimshon. Okay, I send him back an email. Says, call me up. I ask him, why do you have Zera Shimshon? He says that he put in Google, Segula for children, and it came out Zera Shimshon. Segula for children, Zera Shimshon. There was probably an article by Nachman Seltzer, there's Segula, and they put it. So he says, I'm 45, my wife is 35. He wants to have children, he has a problem. I said, okay, every Thursday night I'll make a shir with you. Okay, so he started learning every Thursday night. We started learning Zera Shimshon. 10, 15 minutes, depends, I became a little Talmud Chacham because when you learn for yourself, you don't understand the word. But I learned Hebrew, you have to interpret into English, and I take out the Medrash, I take out the Gemara. So it was a big job for me to look through all these things.
You have to prepare before you?
I didn't prepare before. Because I didn't learn, so I just opened up a site, whatever I saw.
Where did this gentleman live?
He lived in Manhattan. He's an accountant. And he said, okay, I learned every Thursday night we're going to make a shir. A year passed, and he says to me, no, what do we do now? I said, you know what, we have to reprint the Zera Shimshon, the Hebrew one. Give us, half the price, because, we give for free also, but they sell in the stores. Pay half of the Zera Shimshon. You pay every month, you send the check every month. The last month that he sent the check, he had a little boy. I went to the bris. I was on uptown Manhattan, on the west side. Went to the bris, made a Pinyan Ben. And that's another year passed. He says, no, Baruch Hashem, he has children. He sees that he has children. Said, what do we do now? He said, you know what? We're reprinting the Torah Shimshon. Pirkei Avos, like I said to you before, about 19 years before, he printed the Torah Shimshon first. The Torah Shimshon is Pshatlach. Basically, the way it's written, that every Mishnah, every Tana, he says he's saying this over here, and he's saying something else in a different Gemara. He tries to relate together. So
you see his Bekiyas.
He was an unbeliever.
So is it written differently than the Zera Shimshon?
It's a little different. You have to use your head. We didn't do an explanation of that yet. We're working on the Torah, but eventually
we'll get there also.
I'll get there. No question about it. We'll get there. I'll get there. There's a lot to do. And I said, we have to redo it, and, also pay me half every month. He sent the check-in, came automatic, and in between, Baruch Hashem, he had a boy and a girl. He has, Baruch Hashem, now 3 children, Baruch Hashem. He has a family, Baruch Hashem. And so we know, of course, the other scholars, we're not saying, everything helps. Everything helps. When I was in Yeshiva in Besmedish Elyon, my grandfather Mordechai Williger, there was three Einiglich there, age 20. 2 of the Willigers and myself were first cousin, double cousins. My grandfather said $6. Those days, $6, $2 for each. He wrote down in English, every penny helps. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to say everything helps. You don't know, but we see she is, and with Shaduchim and health, and we could talk parnassah. We have there was a place that used to print Zera Shimshon. Happens to be my brother-in-law. We used to give out color copies. In the good days, color copies, a couple hundred. We print every week in Israel about 15,000 copies. We print it, and it goes in all the.
That's for your organization. That's
That's what we print. So and we in Yerushalayim, there's in all the shuls they have a place there in the Gula where you pick it up. Well, we have all this in Leibrak. It goes all over, and we do this, and we're doing a lot of things. People are helping. We couldn't do it ourselves. But like I say, money is not the issue. Money is not the issue. People want to give, and they see Yeshiyas. But so we see stories of Shidduchim. A lot of there was in New Square, there was a group of older boys. Square older boy. If you're 19, you're an older boy. Yeah. And basically there was the 4 buchrim, and one guy found about the school. He had the cipher. He borrowed his friend. Like 4 buchrim within 2 months became engaged. So that's. The Biyana Rebbe is angesent, a couple older buchrim. He told learn Zera Shimshon. So the Gedolim, a lot of them tell try, learn. It's a limit. It's not something he's not asking you to fast. It's not asking learn a shtickle. There's no limit. Once a day, you will learn every day. There's nothing fixed. He doesn't say how much you have to learn, right. And how much money you have to give. But whatever you do is acceptable.
A cynic might ask, and I hope you don't mind me asking this. Someone asked me this: are you afraid when you're so to speak selling a skula, which I know you're not? You're selling the Torah, the Torah of the Zera Shimshon. But the skula is a major component. That's what people talk about. Mm-hmm. Is there a fear that we're selling false hope? Because everything, the Rabbi Binyomin has its cheshbonos of what he does and when he does it and who gets blessed with which blessings in life. And there's no guarantee. I understand the author of the Zera Shimshon gave his avtacha, whatever that means. But how do we present that to the public in a way that they shouldn't have false hope? And understand that when we do things for a skula, at the end of the day, the Rabbi Binyomin is going to do what's best for us. So how do you balance both? And I'm sure this is a question people ask you.
So basically what you say is that when you learn the cipher, you're not learning it for the school. You're learning because the Machaber said, learn my cipher. I'm asking you, he's begging you with 10 languages of that's what he says. Do me a favor, learn my cipher, and I'm going to try to help you. He says a bracha. So basically, Torah, you learn Torah, you had a lot of schab b'olam haba. If you come in the world to come, people don't realize what's going on there. I didn't do this, I didn't do that, but you learn Zera Shimshon, you helped somebody else learn. There was now a guy in Flatbush that he's some kind of issue in health, and he says, how could I help? What could I print? I says, there's a lot of things we work on print, but now what you can help us, take a cipher, and we'll give out 200 copies, and we put in a sticker for his refuah. I hope he has the refuah. But whatever you do, whatever you do, you're not learning the cipher because it's goal. He says you learn the cipher because I'm asking you to learn it, and picking up my neshama, it's a chazal. So we have no idea what it means. You learn my Torah. We see from all the machabrim, they say learn my Torah, say the var Torah. It's a geschmack of learning. It's a geschmack of learning, especially hard piece. Once you understand it, it's geschmack. So you don't. It's not a school cipher. It's just you learn. There's a beautiful different Torah there. The good part of the ArtScroll now is that they first they have the original on top.
Right.
So if you're a Talmud Chacham, you understand exactly where you look on the bottom. So that's very, very good. Right. I daven in Minsk, and there's a guy every I just bought here 2 copies. We have 2 copies of the ArtScroll, English and Hebrew. And there's more learners. There are more learners there. So every time he buys 2 more learners. And there's a guy who packs this for him there. And before we start learning Psuchim, he says, please tell the people that now we should try to learn without ArtScroll. You could chazer with ArtScroll. Try to learn without ArtScroll. People get so used to it. Unfortunately, you cannot learn without the ArtScroll. But you have to know how to learn a blood Gemara. You can't prepare your child and sit with an ArtScroll Gemara. You need a Gemara. You need a Rav Shimshon. You need the original. So I'm still trying. I cheated. I looked into it. But now already I'm stuck someplace. I got to look in the ArtScroll. It's not that I learn a lot in the ArtScroll. But the truth of the matter is, if you learn a blood Gemara and you learn it through, and you have some questions, and you open up the ArtScroll and get slide, because I cannot learn ArtScroll because it's so much stuff over there, and you get a tumult. You have to learn the Gemara. You have to learn not an ArtScroll Gemara.
Are you saying that? Are you applying this to Zera Shimshon as well?
Zera Shimshon, I don't know. In general,
because people do say that Zera Shimshon, when you learn it without an ArtScroll translation, it's a hard.
It's hard, yeah. But the good part of it is that you have on top. You can learn right on top, which is a very good thing. You learn on top, and you can learn. So the truth on Zera Shimshon, it's not a problem to learn on top here. But on the Gemara, if you wouldn't remember Gemara, you remember the tzitz. There was going.
We could show the viewers. It really is beautiful. It's beautiful. The readers could see. I don't know if the camera is catching this, but this is on top the lashon of the Zera Shimshon,
and then you have.
And then there's the elucidation, which is explanatory,
and
then notes on bottom, and then over here, this is what I was talking about before. Every approach of the Zera Shimshon, there's a summary. It's written beautifully. Not long ago, we had a group of Talmidei Chachamim from Lakewood who came for Chanukah Masibah here. They got together. We gave them a tour of the bindery, and I asked a couple of them, what are they working on? They told me they're working on the Zera Shimshon. It's a major project, a huge number of Talmidei Chachamim working on it. So this is a tremendous undertaking and very exciting. And there's an increase in Limud HaTorah. That's the main thing.
No question. There was a Rosh Yeshiva in Lakewood probably 3 years ago, and he had a couple of Talmidim that didn't have children. He started making Shia and Zera Shimshon. And I don't know how many got helped, but a nice couple of couples got helped. He wrote us a letter. I have his Ksaviyad. He said, he wrote a story that I led a shir and people got into it, and you should know he said a couple of them they got helped. And he says he signed his hand that it's true. Mm-hmm. People ask, we hear stories, we give out a gin every week, and not every week has a story. So people say, we need every week, we need, it brings a minute, it brings that. I said, I don't make up stories. Every story that we have, it has to be firsthand. I cannot say one guy said that. I have to, firsthand, and we have to know what the name. We don't write the names, but you have to know who's this person. So I said, I don't make up stories. We're not a money-making place. If we have a story, you put it in. But we see every day we hear stories. Shidduchim and parnassah and gesund. Well, this week somebody called up and he gave money, and I started telling him, this. I said, you don't have to tell me. I saw many issues. You don't have to tell me anything. I guess so some people don't have to say anything, but some people have to explain. Going back to the day the Yor said, I was on the phone a whole day, because you had these these Yiddish yentas, and they tell you, and one guy, it's called the Pakapekel and kids of the derech. It's hard to believe what's going on, but it's unfortunately there's a lot of problems out there, But shidduchim is one of the biggest problems. Shidduchim is older boys and older girls, and I'm not a shot, but I try to match something. I try to do something. But Hashem should help. Listen to the Chis from Zera Shimshon, and he promises, and I light a candle whenever. I've personally seen many issues. Whenever Chas v'Shalom there's something in the family, I light a candle. I learn a piece of Zera Shimshon, and Baruch Hashem, it works. It works.
Is this what you're doing full time now, Zera Shimshon?
I learn the koil. I full time.
Where's that? What do you learn?
In Minsk. I don't get paid, but I sit there from day to I daven there 3 times a day, and it's right across the street.
You mentioned your Rebbetzin Allah Shalom. She passed away
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
3 years ago, and then she helped me. She used to learn. She says, where's the Zera Shimshon? But Baruch Hashem, she mechasel with children, and Baruch Hashem, she had a nice life. She would say, Baruch Hashem, we say we don't ask any questions. I'm sure that Zera Shimshon taking care of her in the other world. And then people ask me, did you ever dream of the Zera Shimshon? You ever dream of Zera Shimshon? I said, I see him live all day. I don't have to dream from him. I see him bogus. I don't have to dream of him. But Baruch Hashem should help. It requires a lot of time and a lot of requests. People asking for pocket stars. I want to go on my talis bottle there every day when I go someplace. I want to have a. I said we have the Gillian. I don't work out. I have my pocket. I always keep it good. I'm coming to ArtScroll. I have a Zera Shimshon.
This way, if you have any time, you're able to.
I'm a little behind sometimes. I most of the stories I write up and I send to Israel, and he fixes it up. He makes it to read. I write the Bekitzer, and he does some more research. Baruch Hashem.
It sounds like there's a lot more work to be done besides the ArtScroll volume. Maybe the ArtScroll should be put out as a Gillian also for people to be able to read on the go.
Some piece,
But I guess one thing at a time.
Yeah,
one volume at a time.
Now somebody's giving out a Gillian from all the Segillas for him. So the first one is Zera Shimshon. Every week he gives out, takes out of the Torah from there, from the Maral Prague, all the tzaddikim that promise if you learn the cipher. So it comes a separate Gillian, a new Gillian, comes out the tzaddikim, and it's nice. Baruch Hashem, there's a lot to do and a lot to be done, and Hashem should help. The yeshiyas should continue, really, and like we said, the main thing, it's learning. It's different Torah. It's not, that's what we're learning. We have a tzaddik that new color Torah killer, without a computer, without, everything was in his head, It was,
So we thank you. Thank you for your efforts in building up the Zera Shimshon phenomenon. This volume right here and the whole set could very well not have come to fruition without your efforts, together with Rabbi Seltzer, a wonderful ArtScroll writer,
Rabbi Zilberberg.
I don't know if there's anyone else you want to mention.
I will mention Rabbi Vakshal, because
he
really put in a lot of effort. I mean, $60,000 in the Tufshini, and that's 31 years ago.
Right.
31 years ago, he put in a lot of money, a lot of effort, and Baruch Hashem, I took it over him, but he still gets every set we sell, we give him money. We try, and now he's doing a maftayches, he's doing, if somebody wants to look up a gemura or whatever, you could see it right away, where it is. There's still additions, we're going to reprint it.
Right. I want to mention also the Haas family sponsored this volume, and this is the Zichron Avram edition of Sefer Shmois. That's Lila Nishmas or Avram Wolfson,
which just passed out 2 weeks ago.
Just nifter.
We got him in right away.
So there are many people stepping up to the plate.
The Zeidenfeld family. They helped us out also.
From Toronto.
Yeah, people. I told you we started. I was involved in the closing. I was on the board, and people used to be building used to be, and they used to have. We were going to get money. We didn't get money. The Rebbe bought Stuyvesant. I learned Stuyvesant. Them. He bought a hospital. They won a hospital there. That was years ago. So the Rebbe says, "How you build with money? I can't tell you. Whenever I did something, I did without money." The same thing applies to Zera Shimshon. How you build it with money, we don't know. But without money, but people come. People, there's so many things people want to give. We just want to. We have no time for so many things. But we got to finish. Do what we're doing, and there's always constantly more and more stuff. Like I say, it's going to take you 2 years to finish the whole thing. Probably us also. We just gave out a volume, a Mavir, on every parsha. We gave out 2-3 different Torah. We did it, with a page. The same way you did it in English. We did it in Hebrew. But the demand is, I want to see everything. I want to see more. I want to see more. People are demanding. They think it comes ready. You put it in. It's not. We have to go over it.
A lot of
work. Editing. It's a lot of work. A lot of work. A lot of money.
Well, thank you for your efforts to be Marbitz Torah, and the Rebbeinu Shalom should give you continued koyach to be mechazik people. And that's really, you're bringing them Torah, you're bringing them chizik, you should be benched with arichas yomim v'shonim. Thank you so much, and we look forward to having you back again.
Yeah.